introduced herself. And I am going to introduce the lovely Tracy Kamako. She is a registered psychotherapist and a gender-based violence educator with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in counseling psychology and from McGill University. She has over 20 years of experience specializing in gender-based violence, more specifically in intimate partner violence, trauma, and emotion regulation. She has worked intensively with victims, children, and perpetrators, collaborating with community agencies for nearly 2 decades to support healing and prevention. Passionate about education and awareness, Tracy provides individual therapy and delivers workshops and presentations to help individuals and communities better understand and address the complexities of gender-based violence. Let's welcome to the floor, Tracy. Thank you so much, Tracy, for being here, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm honored actually to be here today to discuss this topic of gender-based violence, something that impacts individuals, families, communities in a profound way. I think before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the subject can be heavy and it may evoke emotions for those of you who may have personal experiences or connections to it. Just know, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. It's totally okay if you need to step away to regroup, to whatever you need to do, okay? So today we're going to focus on understanding essentially what gender-based violence is, its impact, and looking at the broader systemic issues behind it. Okay, so again, thank you so much for being here, and we will get started. So before I actually start to share the screen, hold on one second. There we go. Before I do that, I wanted to put it out there and ask the audience, what comes to mind for you when you hear the term gender-based violence? What's your initial thoughts? Relationships. Mhm.
I would say gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Violence against women and girls. Yep. That's definitely it. A big part of it. That's what we're talking about. Violence against women and girls. Female circumcision. Mm-hmm. Okay. Workplace violence. Yeah.
Yes, and for everyone joining, we are just discussing what comes to mind when we think about gender-based violence. And Tracy is walking us through. You can put your answers in the chat if you'd like.
We got some good thoughts out there. Emotional, physical violence. Yep. Absolutely. And I'm going to expand on all of that. You're right. Everyone said something that is absolutely right. Okay. So let me share my screen. Hold on one second. Okay. Oops. No, I'm not doing this properly. Hold on. I think I need to share it first and then go to the beginning. Okay. Can we see this?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, great. So let's get to it then. Essentially, gender-based violence It's really an umbrella term. So it's used to describe violence directed towards a person based on their gender identity, or their perceived gender. And it's essentially rooted in unequal power relations between girls and boys, women and men. And it's perpetuated by social norms, attitudes, practices that discriminate against and marginalize women and girls. So I had asked what came to mind when I say the term gender-based violence, and some of you had said some really good things, and there are many different kinds of gender-based violence. So when you think of the umbrella and the different spokes, there are different spokes to gender-based violence. And so we're looking at human trafficking. And we know what that is. That unfortunately is all over the world, sadly, very big in Toronto. That is trafficking women, girls, based on gender. Sexual violence and assault, rapes, sexual assault, geared towards women, gender-based violence. Someone said this one, female genital mutilation, circumcisions. This happens in our world. Early forced child marriages. This happens in parts of our world based on gender. Honor killings, dowry deaths based on gender. And intimate partner violence. This intimate partner violence is what I'm going to base the majority of this conversation on. Every one of these different spokes of gender-based violence can be a presentation on its own. We are going to focus on intimate partner violence. Okay? So did you know women account for the vast majority of people who experience gender-based violence, and they're most often perpetrated by men. What is it attributed to? Patriarchy. This is the root, essentially, of gender-based violence. So worldwide, patriarchal, hierarchical gender structures, these still dominate today. And they're expressed in a wide range of forms and at different levels worldwide. Deeply rooted attitudes that males are superior to females. And it's the fundamental cause of violence against women and girls. So these patriarchal attitudes are still happening now. They're part of our everyday society. And I'm curious if you guys can think of things that we do, experiences that we have, general beliefs that are commonplace now that are rooted in patriarchy. I'll give you a hint. Usually the family name of the man after marriage. Not saying that's a bad thing, but the root of women taking their husband's name in marriage, the root of that is patriarchy. So now you got an idea of what I'm talking about now? Anything else coming to mind? Anyone want to bring up?
You can also raise your hand and you can also speak if you feel comfortable, or in the chat. For me, I mean, there's still the unpaid labor, I guess.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I think that's one on my list. Gender pay gap. We know this happens. Women are still, in some places, still are paid less than men to do the same job. It's rooted in patriarchy. Raising children and unpaid care work, mostly performed by women. Expectation that women will have maybe you'll have a full-time job. Think about that. You have your full-time job during the day, and then you go home to do your second job at night, which is take care of the kids and the dinner and the house and the homework. That's the second job. The expectation is that women do that. Around the world, there are many more women and girls who have no access to healthcare, not healthcare. Well, yeah, healthcare, but education rather. That's another common thing, that women, girls aren't seen as important enough to be educated like male counterparts. So if we look at intimate partner violence, it essentially refers to multiple forms of harm caused by a current or former intimate partner or spouse. So intimate partner violence, it can happen in any forms of relationships, including, so within a marriage, you can have intimate partner violence, within common law relationships, within dating relationships, after separation, after divorce, it can happen. And so whether or not couples live together or are sexually intimate with one another, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be living together as a couple to be experiencing intimate partner violence. You don't have to be sexually intimate with each other to still be experiencing intimate partner violence. And regardless of the gender and sexual orientation of partners. So intimate partner violence can occur in same-sex relationships. Women can be abusive to their partners. We see it more in a physically violent, aggressive way when men are abusive towards women. But women tend to be, or if they're going to be abusive, it can be more verbal, emotional. It's less lethal. They're less likely to kill their partners than the other way around. And so intimate partner violence impacts people of all genders, ages, socioeconomic, racial, educational, ethnic, religious, cultural backgrounds. There's no type. There's no type of person that is more susceptible to intimate partner violence. Okay. So I want to look at essentially what intimate partner violence looks like. It's important to be able to understand and recognize the red flags, okay? Before, before I do that, let me get to this slide. Just to let you know, intimate partner violence is considered an epidemic in Canada. 44% of women, or 6.2 million women aged 15 and older, have reported some kind of abuse in their intimate partner relationship. You know, it's something that women and we don't talk about. And so you're left thinking, this is just me. No one else is experiencing this. But I have been in this field for 20 years working with this population, and I have yet to be at a loss for clients. It's that bad. It's that common. It's that serious. Okay. We're going to take a breathing break, because what I want to do is go into the different types of abusive behavior. It can be triggering, it can be emotional. And before we do that, I want to encourage you to take some deep breaths. Deep breathing is the basis behind managing your emotions. And so if you can learn how to breathe deep it's a deep inhale through your nose, it's a slow exhale through your mouth, and it can help manage you whenever emotions get tense, whenever triggers start to happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cue it, and what we'll do is we will follow the circle. So it's going to be a sound. You can close your eyes and listen to the sound, which will cue you to inhale, and it will cue you to exhale, or you can watch where the mark goes halfway around the circle, which is in the inhale, and then it will go on the other half of the circle, which is the exhale. So we're going to take the inhale through our nose, and we're going to smell the flowers. And then we're going to exhale through our mouth, and we're going to blow out the candle. And so blowing out the candle is forcing you to put your mouth like this, which forces you to slow down that exhale. Okay, so let me cue this up. And I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. So give me one sec. Okay. Okay, ready? So we're going to start with the inhale. Inhale, exhale. Oops. Okay. How did that feel? I'd love a little bit of feedback on how this went. Was it helpful? Were you able to get into the rhythm?
Yeah, I definitely feel physical sensations, almost like my shoulders are relaxed now, and I thought I was
Mhm.
fairly relaxed. So. Yeah.
And you only did this for a minute, not even 50 seconds. When I have my clients do deep breathing, I would tell them, do this for a good couple of minutes. And do this multiple times a day. When you wake up in the morning, and especially if you're leading a bit of a stressful life, when you're waking up in the morning before you start your day and you're lying in bed and you're thinking, oh, my day, I don't want to get out of bed, do 10 rounds of breathing like that before you even start your day. And then midway through your day, just take a break from whatever it is you're doing. The good thing with breathing is you can do it anywhere. And so take a break, sit down somewhere, and then just do 10 more rounds. Midway through your day, do it again. End of your day, do it again. And what this does is it helps, it helps you manage better. Sometimes we're walking around and our stress level is always here, always up to here. It takes nothing to knock us over the edge. It just takes that, that look from that person at work or our kids just not listening to us that day. And then we're so wound up that it takes nothing and then we lose our cool. Being able to take deep breaths like this calms your general baseline level. It brings it from here to a more manageable here, which means it takes more than normal to get you worked up. Okay. All right. We're going to look at physical abuse. This is often what people tend to think about when we say gender-based violence or when we say intimate partner violence. I think this is probably the most obvious part, and it's the physical. It involves slapping, punching, kicking, biting, shoving, choking. Could be using a weapon or another object to injure or threaten to injure. So the idea there is to intimidate, threaten. It also involves using physical force in other ways. So you don't even have to necessarily be actually physically hit. But imagine the punching the wall behind you, throwing something at you. The idea is to intimidate and to control you. That's physical abuse. And it may or may not result in physical injury to the abused person. So don't, often I have clients that, well, I didn't have any marks. I wasn't hurt. It wasn't that bad. Nobody should be putting their hands on you. Nobody should be throwing things at you, punching walls, breaking possessions, that kind of thing. It's not about were you physically hurt, because all of this happening affects you emotionally on top of physically, if you are actually physically hurt. Okay. So that's physical. Then we have emotional, psychological abuse. This is a big one, and this is a tricky one. I feel this is the one that often gets maybe minimized, because that idea of I'm not being hit, he doesn't hit me. So then what actually is happening gets normalized or minimized. This looks like excessive jealousy, attempts to control an abused person's time, activities, appearance. This is about power and control. So looking at control of their time, you can't be out for long. If you are going to the grocery, then you have an hour and you have to get back home, or else you're in trouble. Or the calls starting, the phone calls. You can't wear certain things because it's perceived that you're trying to get someone else's attention. You can't talk to other people. You can't talk to anyone who would be perceived as a potential intimate partner. Unnecessary, unreasonable jealousy. It can look like isolation from family and friends. This happens when, especially when family and friends are kind of get what's happening. They have an idea of what's happening. They don't like what's happening. Family and friends can be the little bird in your ear telling you this is not healthy, this is not okay. And the more that an abuser can isolate their victim from who would be supportive to them, the more that person then is dependent on them. So that's where the isolation tends to come from. And so it can involve, and we talked about this, monitoring whereabouts, stalking behavior, harassment, making unwanted contact with the abused partner, driving by your house. This is if you've separated, the driving by, looking to see who's there, looking for your car, looking for other people's cars in your driveway, that kind of thing. Threats of suicide. And I'm not talking about someone with an actual emotional struggle, an actual mental health problem, like threats of suicide, so that it's used as a power and control way. So that would look like, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. I can't live without you. I'm going to kill myself if you leave me, if you take my kids. Done in a way where it feels manipulative, done in a way where it's designed to control your behavior. Okay. I don't know if this is resonating with anyone. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything. Feel free to say your comments, say what you want to say, if you want to say it in the chat, if there's anything that you want to mention.
And I just want everyone to know as well, right? This is a safe space for open dialogue and just shared learning experience to deepen your understanding.
Mhm.
So just know that it's a safe space for you to just share and for us to explore at any time.
Mhm.
We have Joy on the mic. Thank you,
Mhm.
Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. I guess I related, that really resonated with me, a number of them, because I
Mhm.
myself was in a physically abusive relationship as well as an emotional one with my
Mhm.
soon-to-be ex-husband.
Mhm.
And a lot of those things he had threatened in terms of to take his life
Mhm.
if I had left. And I think the emotional pull there is the heartstring that they pull on, because obviously there's the intimacy there. You don't want them to end their life because you truly,
Yes.
well, I truly believe that he would have.
Mhm.
And I think that's just it right there. That's what pulls you in, the emotional tie to it. And I think that in itself kind of blurs the line for me,
Absolutely.
for the individual on the other end.
Mhm.
So I found it very difficult, and I stuck around longer
Mhm.
than I should have,
Mhm.
only to then eventually see how it just kind of escalated to potentially taking my life. So
Mhm.
had I had this information earlier, I don't know if it would have had the same impact as it does now. But at the same time, I see life as a lesson. So I'm just glad that we have these resources available to us
Mhm.
so that we could use them and identify for the future or even the present time these signs and make decisions that's actually going to aid us and
Mhm.
lead us on that healthier path. And
Absolutely.
that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything? Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to go on and we're going to look at verbal abuse. And I've got a picture that might be a bit of a trigger warning. So I'm just putting that out there. This is verbal abuse. This picture, I think, is the epitome of what words can do. When I talk to my clients and I would ask them, those who experience all kinds of different kinds of abuse from their partner or ex-intimate partner, what affects them the most? What is most impactful? Is the physical? Is it the emotional, verbal, financial, whatever? I would say 80% of those clients say it's the verbal abuse, it's the verbal emotional abuse. That those words left a deeper impact than any bruise ever did. And it's those insults, it's the name calling, it's the put downs, the abusive anger, the raging, the swearing, accusing, the blaming, judging, criticizing, trivializing, undermining, denial. We have a word for that now. It's gaslighting. That happens a lot. Happens so much that now we have a term for it. And the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, all of it is impactful. But when I've spoken with the clients that I've had, they've all said the same thing, that this kind of abuse is the one that chips away at their self-esteem the most, chips away at their sense of worth the most. Okay. So that's verbal abuse. Another type of abusive behavior, we're looking at sexual abuse. And sexual abuse can happen within relationships. So just as not being outside of relationships, but it can happen within relationships. And I'm saying that because it's often perceived, and it can be perceived as, well, we're together, we're a couple, this is my duty, I'm supposed to make myself available. But really, being forced or coerced into performing sexual acts against your will or to suffer unwanted pain or injury during sex is sexual abuse. And key words there is against your will. So being forced to engage in unsafe sex, and that could be refusing to wear a condom or failing to tell a partner about the possibility that they may be infected with a sexually transmitted disease or infection. That's sexual abuse. Ridiculing their partner about their appearance, their sexual performance, or other aspects of their sexuality. Sexual abuse. Refusing to engage in activities that are enjoyable for the abused person, or withholding sex to punish. Not okay. Sexual abuse. Okay. Another form of abusive behavior within relationships or former relationships, and this is another tricky one for some, financial, economic. So this is where an abuser would deny their partner equal and unhindered access to the family's financial resources. So what does that look like? There's money, but you can't touch it. You don't have any. You don't have access to that bank account. The abused person may be denied knowledge about the family's financial status, may have no say in decisions about major or minor purchases. You have no idea if you're in debt because you're not told. You're not on accounts. You could be rich, you have no idea because you don't have access to that information. And if you're not on an account, banks won't talk to you. Just like if you're not on the Rogers account or the Bell account, they won't deal with you. They won't close an account, or they won't add a person without the other person's permission. And when the other person who we're looking to get that permission from is someone who is abusive or is all about power and control, they're going to shut you out and you stay shut out. You can't buy things without permission. Major purchases, minor purchases, doesn't matter. And so it can look like an abused person may be forced to ask their abuser for money, even for basic necessities. I need tampons in the pharmacy. I have to ask for money. That's what that looks like. Abused person may be forced to account for all the money that they spend, or may be accused of hiding purchases from their abuser. So what does that look like? That will look like you go to the store, you do the errands, you run the groceries, but when you come back, you have to show that itemized bill. And everything on that bill has to be on the counter to be looked at. If a certain amount of money was given to you, you have to show for where every penny went. And if you don't, then you're accused of hiding purchases. Or it can be the flip side. The abused person may be forced to financially support their partner and family, forced to be the sole person responsible for the family's finances. And again, if this is an agreed upon decision and you're okay with that, for whatever works for you, that's one thing. But all of this, the theme behind this is against your will. So if you are forced to work and you spend all your money paying for the bills, and you're thinking, this is not fair, this is not okay, then that's where the problem is. Then then that's where the abuse comes in. The abuser may prevent their partner from acquiring or maintaining employment. I see this one a lot, right? And it can be subtle. Whatever reason, so that you don't get a job. You have to stay home with the kids. Oh, you need to stay home and take care of the house. I'll take care of you. But you want to work, but you're not allowed. Or if you do have a job, somehow he always sabotages it. It gets sabotaged so that you can't maintain employment. You can't keep your jobs. And what's that about? That's about keeping the abused person dependent on their abuser. Because when you go to work, you can have a whole life. You have a whole work family if you work with the same people. And the more people that you're around, the more independent that you can become. Or you'll start forming friendships that he can't control. Or you'll start making money that maybe he feels like he can't control. And so what happens there is sabotage. That's financial abuse. Okay. I'm going to pause here and kind of put it out. Ask again, we talked about a lot. How is this resonating for you guys? How are you feeling?
And a reminder, if you do want the mic, everything will be edited out so your responses remain confidential. And you
Oh,
can
good.
just raise your hand if you want to share or in the chat. Okay,
Do we
thank
need
you,
another
Sharnette. Yeah, we have Sharnette. Thanks.
Jeanette? Okay. Hi, Jeanette.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. I think I just wanted to share, with a financial abuse, it's not so easily recognized, right? So
Mhm,
going over
mhm,
this, like for me, it's just like prompting different things that were happening in my marriage at the time with my soon to be ex-husband. I'm thinking, yeah, that
mhm,
is financial abuse in the
mhm,
sense that I wasn't made aware of like the different accounts, or my name
mhm,
wasn't on the different accounts, right? Or just like denying me access to monies that were available to the family. So yeah, it's something that we don't focus a lot of, we don't have a good understanding of, like in my opinion, or just my experience, like the physical, the emotional, the psychological, like, you know what I mean? I think those are a little bit easier to recognize, but like the financial and the economical abuse is
mhm.
not so much. But yeah, just really thank you for like the information and opening my eyes to this one.
I'm so glad. You are so welcome. And I very much recognize the financial abuse is the one that gets missed the most, right?
Thank you, Sharnette, for sharing. It's very covert and sharing your
Mhm,
experience with us today.
mhm.
You're definitely not alone in that.
Absolutely. That's why financial abuse got 2 slides, because there's a lot. There's a lot there that people don't think is abusive. Anyone else? I think maybe we should do another breathing break. I wanted to do the breathing to get us into this, and then I feel like a bit of the breathing to get us out of this. Okay. Let me cue my time. Oops. I like it just a little bit slower than how it's programmed. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Calm app. I love that app. You should look it up. It's a wonderful, wonderful app designed to help manage emotions. And this is where I got this, the breathing bubble. There's many other apps that have the same thing. You can essentially just Google breathing bubble, and you'll have many variations of this that come up. And I think it's just a wonderful thing, even to just kind of have on your phone. Okay. All right. Are we ready? Smell the flowers. The candle. Oops. Okay. How do we feel? Was that helpful? I love this app. Sometimes the sound is just in my head and I don't even need the circle. When you do this enough, the sound just kind of cues you when you need it. Okay. All right. So let's move on. This is power and control wheel. This is essentially everything that I've just talked about in what we call the power and control wheel. It's at a glance. And so it's to show all of these behaviors, the basis is about power and control. And so it's breaking it down, using intimidation, different ways in which intimidation can be used to exhibit power and control, making their partner, ex-partner afraid by using looks. So that's the looks, the actions, the gestures, smashing things, destroying property, abusing pets, displaying weapons. It's just to intimidate. That's power and control. When we're looking at the emotional abuse, it's the putting them down, making them feel bad about themselves, calling them names, making them think they're crazy. It's the gaslighting, right? Using isolation, controlling what they do, who they're with, who they talk to, what they read, what they wear, where they go, all of that. Isolation. Limiting their involvement to outside world, outside people. Jealousy. We look at minimizing, denying, blaming. That's making light of the abuse and not taking their actions seriously. This is the no accountability piece, right? This is the, you're exaggerating. Oh, stop blowing things out of proportion. This is not a big deal. I didn't do anything. Shifting blame, no accountability. There's a piece of using children, right? So that's making the partner feel guilty about children, using children to relay messages, using, if the couple is separated, using access, pick-up drop-offs as an opportunity to continue to abuse their ex-partner. Threatening to take the kids away if you don't do A, B, and C. Threatening to call children's aid. For what? For nothing. But it's scary. It's a scary threat. Threatening to call. Using male privilege. So that's treating their partner like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like master of the castle, being the one who defines men and women's roles. That's male privilege. Looking at the economic abuse, we just talked about that. Preventing them from getting or keeping their job, making them ask for money, giving them an allowance, that's all you can spend, taking their money, not letting them know about family income, and using coercion and threats, making or carrying out threats to do something to hurt them, threatening to leave them, threatening to suicide, threatening to report CAS, threatening to forcing them to maybe drop charges, or threatening to have the police arrest them. You call the police and I'll say you did this to me and you'll be arrested. Making their partner do illegal things, coercion and threats. So this is power and control wheel. That's what we call this. And it's all of the different types of abusive behaviors within the wheel in one glance. Okay. This is what we call the cycle of abuse. Anyone who's in a relationship where there's been abusive behaviors, they're going to experience a cycle of abuse, and it looks the same. Maybe the length of time in between each stage can differ, but these are the general phases. And it starts with what we call a tension building phase. So that's where tensions increase, breakdown in communication. So this is what women call walking on eggshells. You know, you can see that your partner is is upset. They're in a bad mood. You can tell by their body language, you can tell by the way they're speaking. So you're feeling fearful. So what do? You try to placate them. You keep the kids quiet and clean and away from them. Everybody in the house gets and feels that tension building phase. Older kids lock themselves in their room. They don't want to be around that person. Everybody just stays to themselves, walking on eggshells. Tension building. Tension building on this part of the circle, it goes until it's inevitable, the incident. What that looks like can vary from relationship to relationship, but it's the fight. It can be verbal, it can be physical, it can be sexual abuse. It's where the anger comes out, it's where the blaming comes out, arguments, threats, intimidation. It's the incident, the fight. And so then what happens after is we go into what we call a reconciliation phase. And one of two things tends to happen in this phase. So you can have the apologies, the promises to change, the I'm sorries, the, what seems like acknowledgement of what they've done. Or you can have the minimizing, the excuses for their behavior, blaming the victim for their behavior, denying that the abuse happened. This is where the gaslighting can come in. Or the exaggeration. You're just exaggerating. I didn't do anything. Oh, it's not a big deal. And then you go into what we call the calm phase. So this is where, as it said, it's calm. The incident is forgotten. No abuse is happening within this calm phase. We used to call it the honeymoon phase. It's as honeymoon as it can get for you. It's quiet, it's calm. That only lasts for so long. So everybody's relationship looks a little bit different. That calm phase, though, it can last months, it can last days. But what happens is if this is an abusive relationship, it almost always hands back into that tension building phase. And it's a cycle. And then it repeats. You're like a hamster on a wheel, and it just goes around and around and around. And as the relationship deteriorates more and more, the time in between each of these phases shortens and shortens and shortens. But that's the cycle. Anyone want to share anything? I feel like I want you all to know that you can definitely, say a comment, type a comment. I don't want you to think that you need to wait until the end to say something if something resonates for you and you want to share something. So I'm just kind of putting it out there again.
I'm going to piggyback off of Tracy, right? Remember that your voice also matters, and your input could definitely help someone that's listening today to find a new perspective. And if once, like Tracy said, if anything resonates with you or sparks curiosity, don't hesitate to share or ask. There is never a question that's ever silly that I tell people, because sometimes you're thinking something that someone else is thinking. And when they ask, you have one of those ha-ha moments, like, I wanted to ask that. So just remember, everything in this room is confidential, and your input, your insights matter. You're loved, you're seen, and you're heard.
Okay. So if there's nobody, I'm going to go on then. That's okay. Another, did you know? Did you know intimate partner violence is not an anger management problem? I get this a lot from clients. He just needs to control his anger. He needs anger management classes. He just blacks out and rages, and he needs to learn how to manage his anger. And I say, no, it's not an anger management problem. Does he behave this way at work with his boss? Probably not. Does he behave this way with his friends? Probably not. Because there are consequences to acting that way with your boss, and maybe your friends won't put up with it. what that shows, if you can look at other areas of his life where he seems to have control, magically can control his anger, it's not an anger management problem. It shows that that behavior is a choice. He chooses, that partner chooses who they can be that way with. And it's often the person that they want to exhibit power and control over. It's the person that they feel that that they are above. Okay? Why do victims stay? $1 million question. But there are reasons why women stay, victims stay, right? Feelings of ambivalence. So you've got that fear and anger that's mixed with genuine love and caring. You can love a person but hate their behavior at the same time. And that is confusing. Because you can to still love someone who treats you so poorly can be confusing. But it's those feelings of love, the general feeling, general love, the caring is what can keep women there. And then there's a feeling of hope that change can happen. And that hope tends to come in that cycle, right? The cycle, especially if your reconciliation phase tends to involve the apologies and the promises. Maybe they don't involve that, but if yours do, often that phase and the calm phase can bring out those feelings of hope because you catch glimpses of the person you fell in love with. If the person you were with or you fell in love with acted like this from the start, you'd never be with them. So when those little glimmers of the old person come back, you get hopeful. Right? There may be pressure from family or friends, religion, society to remain in the relationship. That happens a lot. My religion, we don't divorce. This is not what we do in my culture. Married till death do us part. Or my family won't support me if I separate. They won't be there for me. Which segues into social isolation, lack of a strong support system. If you don't feel like you have someone to catch you, you're not going to jump. And when women or anyone, if you're socially isolated, then you're less likely to make big changes. You're less likely to take big risks because you'll feel like there's no one there to help you. So you don't do anything. And you tolerate. Because being alone can be super scary. Pay for the children. That perception of, I don't want my children raised in a broken home. The idea of the two-parent nuclear family, that is such a strong need and want for some people that they feel like they need to stay for the kids. But when I hear that, I really, really have to bring to the conversation of the quality of the relationships that your children are being exposed to. And it's important to know, children who are exposed to violence and conflict, children tend to imitate the same-sex parent the most. And so what we see is girls who watch their moms being abused by partners or dads tend to normalize that. And when they get to the phase of starting to date, interest in other, in looking for a partner themselves, it becomes normal for them to then form relationships with people who were just like dad, or what, this is all I know. And boys who are watching their dads are being taught this is how a man is supposed to behave. This is what it's supposed to look like in an intimate relationship. And it's not done intentionally, but this is what's happening. And I have been in this field long enough that I can say, I can recall working with moms whose children were school age, moms who were being abused, and it was a pattern for them. And they had school age children. And then those children grew into teenagers and ended up coming back to me for therapy for their own abusive relationships. And they themselves were able to articulate, well, this is all I knew. And so that's something that I say when the thought of stay for the kids need two parents. What the kids need are healthy relationships. And if it can be as healthy as it can be alone with you, alone with him, then that's better than unhealthy together. Because then at least I'm hoping the exposure to the exposure to conflict ends in that separation. They may have to be dealing with other things with and I'm going to say dad or partner, but hopefully the exposure to the conflict between the parents would be over. So what's another reason that victims tend to stay? Economic dependence on partner. And this is a big one. This is a hard one, right? Especially, you're living in this economy. You know what rent costs? It's crazy. So the idea of leaving and being on your own, especially let's say you were that person who didn't have your own money, didn't have your own job. This is totally starting over. And it's hard. It's scary. It's scary. So that is a big one in terms of we're looking at why, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes people who don't get it, who don't know it, well, why are you staying? Why don't you just go? Easier said than done. Easier said than done. Then you've got fear of retaliation from their partner if they leave. That's another big one. Fear for your safety. Maybe it's not physically safe for you to leave. If you're dealing with someone who is a physically abusive person or threatens your physical well-being, if you leave, then that's a scary thing to do. Totally get it. Right? And then you've got the lack of knowledge about available resources. And so this goes back to, that feeling of isolation, not knowing that there are agencies out there are therapists out there that are designed to help women in these exact kinds of situations. So when you don't know what's out there, when you don't know that there is help for you, then you don't look for it. You don't reach out for it. You just stay where you are within your comfort zone. And it's not comfort zone because it's comfortable. It's comfort zone because that's all you know. And so that's what a big part of today was about. It's to help you, everybody, understand what intimate partner violence is, what that looks like, that there is help out there. You don't have to, if you're dealing with this, you don't have to deal with it alone. Okay? If we look at the effects, low self-esteem, social isolation, depression, anxiety. These are some of the things that I see the most. Physical health problems. Stress manifests in physical ways. So we can have the physical health problems from maybe being physically hurt, which can have long-lasting physical impacts on you. But then there is the physical impact, physical health problems just from stress, manifesting from within. Those are the ongoing, the chronic migraines, it's the chronic fatigue, it's the gastrointestinal problems, the ulcers, right? Lack of trust in general. It becomes very hard to continue to trust people when you've been in relationships like that. Does anyone want to throw anything out there in terms of, obviously this is not an exhaustive list. Any other impacts, ways that it's affected, would you imagine, if not you yourself, how else would you imagine that this can affect a victim?
You do want to share, it will remain confidential and I can give you the microphone. Yeah, I think that was a great point, Tracy, about the physical health problems that come from stress and
Mhm.
yeah, thank you.
Were you saying that someone was going to share something? Do we have anything in the chat?
We do have Sharnette, yes.
Okay.
There you go, Sharnette, thank you.
No worries. I mean, these are great, but I think also the other piece to add is like the impact on like parents' relationship with their like children,
Mm-hmm.
like or just relationship in general to family, right? Like there's that social isolation piece, but when it comes to parenting, I feel like you don't show up as your best in
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
And then there's that guilt that is associated as well too, right? Because it's like you want to be your best, but then you're dealing with so much,
Mm-hmm.
right, that
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to show up as the best version of, of yourself, to be a mom, to be a
Mm-hmm.
dad, just to be there for your children.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sharnette. Yeah, just you're doing your best as a parent
Mm-hmm.
and showing up the way you can, sometimes in a survival mode, and it's processing and letting go of some of that guilt that is really tough as well. So thank you so much for sharing.
So then I'll go on. Anyone else? So, Sharnette, what you were saying, it kind of segues really well into this piece, right? That piece of not being your best self. And that is absolutely what happens, right? We can only function to a certain level when we have bricks on our back. And so it's about self-care. Self-care is important. And this is what we call the self-care wheel. And this is oh, I've been there all this time. Could you see that black line there? No?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. And so this looks at different ways in which you can take care of yourself, right? So when we look at spiritual spiritual ways, right? Using spirituality, our faith, it could be yoga, volunteering for a cause, practicing forgiveness, reconnecting with church, if that was what moved you at some point, spending time in nature, right? Looking at the physical ways of self-care, getting a massage if you can, exercise. Basic exercise is important. I can't speak to this one enough, right? It Physical exercise is clinically proven to help manage emotions. And it doesn't have to be anything hardcore. Walking, just walking, clinically proven to manage emotions. And I know it's cold. It's not going to stay this cold forever, but bundle up. Even if you can be outside, the fresh air, the sunlight when you have sun, right? Change the air, change your environment, go for a walk. Regular sleep as much as possible. If you start to incorporate physical exercise into more of a routine, your sleep will get better if you're struggling with sleep, right? Enjoying physical intimacy, hugs, holding hands. That's with whoever you want to be holding hands with, right? Eating healthy, regular medical care. Take care of your physical body. Take care of your psychological mind. Join a support group. Do therapy. Take time for self-reflection. Meditate. Journal. I can't speak about journaling enough. Journaling is a really, really, really good tool to help you process your emotions. I say to every client I have, get yourself a journal. Write in the journal as though you're talking to somebody. The journal is going to be your friend. Write in the tone of conversation. And whatever you say, but you're talking to somebody. When you have that conversational tone, words just flow. Thoughts just flow. And it's okay if the tears start to flow too. You want that. You need that journal to release that emotion. Maybe you're artsy. Maybe you would journal as an art. Drawing, making something creative. Hone in on those skills. If we look at emotional, just laughing, practicing self-love. If you have a pet, cuddle with your pet. If you need to cry, cry. Explore a hobby. Community engagement.
We have a message in the chat from Veronica.
Yes.
Walking in nature, going to the park. I think,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
nature aspect.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. And it
Anyway.
doesn't cost anything,
Mhm.
right? When we look at professional boundaries, it's professional self-care. If you're working, it's about setting boundaries at work. Use your vacation time. Take your lunches. And not just to eat, take your time. If your lunch is an hour, if your lunch is half an hour, use it to be doing something that isn't work related. And I find it's easy to get into that habit, depending on what kind of work that you do, where lunch is just, okay, well, I ate. No, it's not about did you eat, it's about did you take your time away from work? That's part of self-care. Learn to say no. Leave work at work if you can. And again, depending on what kind of work that you do, it's very easy to come home, open the computer, and continue what you're doing. I can even say I'm guilty of that. And it's often something that I have to be conscious of. Leave work at home. Leave work at work, rather. Turn off the computer, leave it off. So when we look at personal, what can you do for pleasure? Read a book. Reflect on who you are. What makes you special? Plan, set goals. Make time for new friends. Make time for old friends. Find those old friends who may have gotten lost in all of this chaos. Right?
You, Tracy, I love the idea of reconnecting, and even sometimes we have women's groups, even gaining new friends that understand your experience.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
This
And
self-care wheel, I love it. I love it. It's so pretty, it's so colorful, and it's got so many good ideas. Okay.
I also had Joy in the chat mentioning journaling. I think
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Good. Do you guys do any of these things? Some of you had said a few things. What out of here can you look at and say, oh yeah, I do this, or I used to do this and I want to start again? Feel like I can look at each category and say, oh, I used to do this. I should do it more, or I'd like to do this, or I do this. Even if it's something you don't want to share, let it sit with you. Right?
We have Mariana saying that she does practice these things and they do work. Thank you.
Good, good. Take a bath. Lock that door if you've got kids and this is your time. Take a bubble bath and just soak. Do the deep breathing in the tub. And sometimes you just have to create the time. You have to make the time. Because if you think the time is going to just be there, it won't. Because the days go, the nights go quickly. And you have to start making yourself a priority. Especially, if you're a mom, and it was Shernette who talked about that. You're not your best self. And when you're not your best self, you're not the best parent that you want to be. And it's the same idea as when you get on a plane and the attendant tells you if the oxygen masks fall, you put it on yourself before you put it on your kids. And as parents, you think, what? Why would I do that? I have to take care of my kids. But if you can't breathe, how are you going to take care of your kids? If you are drowning, who is going to take care of them? How are you going to take care of them? So you do have to prioritize yourself to be a better parent.
I love that, Joy. Self-care is not selfish, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So that being said, I'm looking at some resources in the community for you. Okay. We have a lot going on in Durham in terms of focusing on intimate partner violence. We have Safety Network Durham, which is based out of CFSD. And so what that is it's a hub. It's a hub of multiple agencies located in the same place that helps women who are dealing with intimate partner violence. So take a note of that website. You can make an appointment. You can show up on a Monday. You can show up on a Thursday. You'll find me there. I'm the manager of that program, right? And you can meet with a therapist there. You can meet with shelter workers who can help you with housing applications there. You can meet with an OW worker who will help get you on OW if that's what you need to do. You can meet with victim services if you need victim services, all under one roof. And so the idea behind that is to keep you from having to go from place to place to place to place to place in the community. Okay. CFSD, that's an agency. They're funded by the ministry to run programs and groups for women, children, perpetrators, intimate partner violence. Luke's Place. Luke's Place is an agency a legal agency that helps women leave their abusers. If they're leaving their abusers, they help them from a legal perspective. If they're facing custody access issues, they will help you. They're not lawyers. They have a lawyer on staff, but they're mainly paralegals. But what they do is they're mainly for women who have to represent themselves in that kind of stuck spot of make too much money for legal aid. You can't afford the lawyers because it's expensive. Luke's Place helps you file things. It helps you represent yourself. That's what they do. Right? And then if you're looking for individual work, this is me. This is what I do. I've been doing this for 20 something years. my population is intimate partner violence. And so I don't have a big social media presence. I was told I have to get with the times. So if you scan this, you'll see my small numbers. It's because I was told you have to get with the program. So yeah, I do have a small social media presence, but I mainly word of mouth. Okay. Any questions? The floor is yours. If not questions, any comments, any feedback? How was this for you? Did you feel like you learned something you didn't already know?
Or is there something you can take away from tonight?
Mhm.
Like, so how did tonight make you feel? Even if it's one word, again, there's no right or wrong answer, but what emotions did it evoke in you tonight, just listening to Tracy's wonderful presentation? Okay, awesome. So Melissa put in the chat, self-care is so important. I definitely agree with that. Anyone else?
So much that could be said that it was hard to condense it down to the talk that I did. There's so many elements of this could be separate presentations on its own, right? But I felt like a good way to start is to gain that understanding. It's to be able to identify the red flags. It's to be able to identify what is healthy versus what is not healthy in intimate partner relationships. And that's the first step.
Awesome. So Tracy, in the chat, Joy shared having an understanding of the cycle was eye-opening, which is great. Veronica wrote in the chat, yes, self-care is so important. And Mariana shared, encouraged me to stay on the path that I'm on. And I really, really appreciate you.
Good. Thank you. This is all my pleasure. All my pleasure. And resources are out there. I think in the end, that's what I hope you take from this, that you are not alone. There are resources out there. There are many, many, many people going through very similar things. You are not alone.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for today. We had Carlton as well sharing about support structures and
Mhm.
empathy. Yes, that's non-judgmental. That's very important. I just want to thank you all for joining and listening in, and Tracy for sharing the amount of information you did, but it was very helpful. Just all of this knowledge and your time. And thank you, Joy Dean, as well for being here. If anyone has any questions or needs any information, you can email the Kajenga info@kajenga family.org email, and we can support you with any resources or navigation, and let us know if you need to debrief this call as well.
Thank
Okay.
you so
Too.
much.
Tonight was such a powerful insight of just stepping forward in growth, to all the participants of just showing up and your openness and being engaged and open to learn something for your healing journey was inspiring. So thank you for being vulnerable and feeling safe in this space for sharing.
Yes, I echo that absolutely. Showing up is the first step, right? I appreciate you all. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
That ends us off for the evening, everyone. You can feel free to send an email again if you need to debrief tonight, the info@kajengafamily.org, but I will be closing the webinar now. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe. Is it closed? Are they gone?
No,
Not yet. Okay.
no. Let me see here.
Should I go? Should I stay?
If you can stay.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Thank you. Um, Okay, it's just us, Tracy. Thank
Is
you
it?
so
Okay.
much. Yes.
So how was it? Honest feedback.
Oh, no, that was, I think, again, the cycle and the power, what is that one called? The circle, the power
Mhm.
and control circle, I believe.
Yes, power and control wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think it was really impactful. It's a lot, but there's no way to provide this information without it being a lot. So it makes
It
sense
is.
that, yeah, people are
Yeah.
quieter sometimes, but I think even the engagement that you got was really
Yeah.
great and
Good.
needed, yeah, for tonight.
Good. Around how many people were there?
Yes, I think at the, because some people came in and out, I would say there
Yeah.
was about 17.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's 17 people, right?
Yeah.
You got
Mhm.
some really good information.
Yes. Yeah, it
It,
sounds like it too. And I think a lot of people might be in the process of this journey, so it just reaffirms that, they're on the right path and
mm-hmm. Do you have a sense if they were all women? I was trying at first to
yeah.
stay gender neutral, and then I was realizing I'm not staying gender neutral, and I
Um,
thought, oh my God, I'm hoping that I'm not, you know, yeah.
no, I couldn't really tell, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
There could have been a couple men that had
Mhm.
joined. I know there was like John from our team and Curtis, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
couldn't tell from the participants.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But you
But
know what? That's fine. That's fine. It's the info is the info. And
Mhm.
statistically, it's women who tend to be the victims of this, so more than not. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and you did address that as well,
yeah,
that anyone can experience this, and
exactly.
yeah, and that's just like the statistics and research behind
Yeah,
it. Most
yeah,
often is women, so
good.
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna stop
Good.
recording. And I guess for everyone, it will be confidential. I just
Mm-hmm.
letting everyone know that.
Mm-hmm.